Hi, my little Vixens, and welcome back to another episode of the Vixen Voice. Today is going to be so fun because we are talking about owning your worth. We're going to hear from Jamie Rockers, Bex Wood, and if you are a diehard fan, you have already heard from these amazing women. They were all at our launch party, and I've interviewed them in a long form interview. So if you miss their episodes, go check them out. You won't want to miss them. I promise you'll get plenty of tips. You'll share their amazing journeys and you will be inspired by the lives that they lead. So I love these women. Bex is in my Vixen mastermind, so I get to talk to her every single week. And Jamie and I were connected because she grew up with one of my Vixen team members, Lexi. And so we were introduced. And I just love to share those little tidbits because in today's world, it's so crazy how we make new friends. And I think making new friends and experiencing life is so important. So just, don't be shy. Get out there, meet. There are so many amazing women. Get out there and meet them. So let's dive in and meet our beautiful women that are Vixens joining us here today. So Jamie, I'm going to start with you. I'd love for you, just give us a little context, in case our audience didn't hear our one-on-one episode. Like, what does your life look like on a day-to-day basis?
I'm a social media content creator and a social media consultant as well. So I work with lots of different brands and I work with a lot of different topics. I cover beauty and wellness and travel as well. And I work with brands on my own channel on Instagram and TikTok. And I also work with brands on their own channels, creating user generated content for their channels. Again, covering beauty, wellness, travel. And I also manage the accounts for two really big clients in London as well. So I do all their Instagram and all their TikToks. So I'm always online, always on my phone because I can work from my phone, which is great because that allows me to work anywhere in the world. So I do
Love it.
travel a lot as well. Because again, yes, I can work remotely. So it's great.
Awesome. So to give us some context, how many countries have you already been to this year?
Um, this year I think I've been to 8 countries, but overall I have been to, I think, 75.
That's so crazy. And so this year, how many countries did your daughter and significant other come along for?
They came on, so my daughter came on. I think she's gone to I think about 5 different countries this year. Um, Two of them long haul as well. So we
Wow.
just came back from the US, so that was really nice. And then we've got another trip to the US at the end of the year, and so I'm just trying to plan in some more little trips in between.
I love it. Awesome. So you can see Jamie has her hands full juggling her time. Bex, how about you? What does life look like for you these days?
Yeah, gosh. Well, I am a mom of three. My oldest is in the Navy. He's a nuke in the Navy, and my younger two, 7 and 8, they're finally in school together. So everybody's gone during the day, which is really nice to get back on that routine. I'm a photographer. I specialize in branding photography and to really tell people's authentic or to really show their authentic voice and personality in their headshots. And I think that owning their worth, helping them to see their worth is a big part of that. Photography is also my second career. So I spent 15 years doing operations in law firms. So like HR, accounting, office management, that kind of thing. Yeah, so that's me in a tiny nutshell.
I love it. And on top of this all, you started a nonprofit in the last year. Am I right?
I did. Gosh, that seems so long ago. And but when I put it into perspective, that was just a few months ago. Yeah, and that's called the Moxie Project, and that's all about building up self confidence, and knowing your inner worth as well in others.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. Well, ladies, as you know, today we're talking about owning your worth. And in the Vixen mastermind and the Vixen curriculum, small group coaching, one-on-one coaching, I do have an exercise designed to help women raise their money mindset, increase their income, and think about it in a different way. And we call it owning your worth. And so Bex and Lacey have been through this exercise. Jamie has not. So you are getting all kinds of context today. But owning your worth is so much bigger than that. It's really to give us the confidence to show up as we should. So, what I'd love to hear from you, and Bex, I'm going to start with you this time, is when you hear the term owning your worth, what does that mean to you? And it may have nothing to do with money, to be honest.
Yeah, to me, it's all about self-confidence and authenticity and feeling that you have permission to take up your own space in a way that you choose. To me, that's what self-worth is all about, and feeling good about owning that.
Oh my gosh, I love that definition. And by the way, if you're listening, you can go to YouTube and see the short version of this. Share with us, what does owning your worth mean to you? We would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your story and have you join our conversation. And who knows, you might be our next guest. So we'd love to hear from you. And Jamie, how about you? When you hear the term owning your worth, as I explained to you before we got on, I just think you epitomize owning your worth. So I'm so happy you're here with us to hopefully drop some like pearls of wisdom for women to hear and be inspired by.
For me, owning my own worth, it's funny because I really like reading horoscopes, and I recently read my
Nice.
horoscope, and it was really, because this is my birthday month, so there's lots of horoscopes around Virgo this month, but it was saying you are at your best when you listen to your body, and that's so true. So I think for
Mm.
me, owning my self-worth is listening to my body and trying to like listen to my own intuition as well, like it, and also thinking, is future me going to be angry with me now for saying
Mm.
yes to these things that I don't want to do, or saying no to something now? Would I get FOMO later? So I think it's about really trusting your intuition and also thinking of how you really feel. So I think if you can
Mhm.
really lean in and really listen to your body and listen to your gut and your intuition, then you can really obviously own your own worth, because you'll be making the right decisions at every corner.
Wow, I love that so much. I love the future me question. I use that a lot when I'm coaching women. Like, hey, if your future higher self came back and saw this, what would she advise you? Right. But I like how you used it like to guide you when to say no, which so many of us have a problem with, but also when to say yes. I like this idea of in the future, would I have a fear of missing out? Because sometimes we do need that little kick in the rear to like get dressed up, go out and do something, because sometimes we just don't. And it's interesting. I love that you brought that up because it reminds me every time I was like not wanting to do something in my life, but I went and did it. It turned out to be magical and wonderful, right? So I like this idea of also, I have to control my FOMO, but also like, will I really have it in the future? So should I engage in this and should I do this? So I love that so much. So in the Vixen Mastermind, what we do is a money mindset exercise to help you raise your money mindset, because many of us have limiting beliefs about money, right? It was socialized from our parents, from society, from school. I mean, it comes from us at many angles. And one thing I've known about people who I know are uber successful monetarily, there are many ways to be successful, right? They have a very high money mindset. Like they could lose it all and they'll make it back in no time. And I really think it has to do with their self worth and their mindset when it comes around money. So, and I also see this trend of so many women that I coach feeling guilty around money and having issues around money. And so I'd really kind of love to dive in and maybe ask you, can you think of a limiting mindset you had or a fixed mindset you had when it came to money? Or even, I know my mom always told me, April, like nobody's going to give you anything. You have to pay your dues. So I interpreted that like everything's going to be really hard and I have to work really freaking hard to be successful, which, as we know, sometimes you have to work smarter rather than harder, right? So I had to overcome and learn that. So can y'all think of any stories to share with us?
I think for me, like it's still a daily struggle to not feel guilty about about money, about love. Also, I can remember. So this is my story that I'll contribute, but I can remember, and this just goes to show how deeply rooted this issue is. And I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm not the only one, but I don't know anyone right offhand that feels the same way. So I would love to hear from you if you also struggle with this. But like, even I remember when I first met and fell in love with my life partner. His name's Brian. We've been together 10 years, and like I was just so madly in love with him, so deeply in love. But I remember feeling guilty about it at the same time, that
Hmm.
I felt bad to even share with people how in love with I was, because I knew not everyone could have that. And I don't understand why that is. And I can't help that. I can't fix that. I can't change that. And I felt the way I felt, and it was extreme and positive and amazing, but I still I felt guilty to really lean into it, because I knew not everyone could have it. And I struggle with that with finances also. Like, as I earn
Yeah.
more, like, it is always on my mind that I feel a little guilty for having this, because I know others don't have it. So I don't know the answer to that, but that's my story.
Interesting. No, I'd love to come back to that. And, we can free flow and converse here today. So, Jamie, what are your thoughts on that? Have you had a similar? I saw you shaking your head as she was talking. So I feel like you were resonating with what Bex was sharing.
Yeah, definitely. I think I grew up with a very like a scarcity about money, like mindset that was drilled into me. That was like,
Mhm.
um, money doesn't grow on trees. You can't always get what you want. That was like my mother's favorite thing to say to me. Like anytime I wanted something, she was like, "You can't always get what you want." I always had to work. From a young age, I
Yeah.
started babysitting, and then I had to work part time at a restaurant. But my parents were super strict about money with me, and they said, if you want it, you have to buy it. They were like
Mhm.
mean, but they were like, if you want it, you have to buy it. And so I had to do everything for myself.
Yeah.
Even like pay for everything for college. I paid for everything. Bought my first car. Like, so I was always that kind of instilled a very strong work ethic as well, because I
Mhm.
always thought it's just me. I'm the only one that's going to help myself. So now it's kind of, I'm trying to break out of that, where it's like only I can do it, only me, only I'm going to help myself. I now, because of that, struggle asking other people for help. I take everything on. And yeah, I'm sad that that was instilled in me, and I love the mindset today where it's more about manifesting and like thinking about
Yeah.
money as though, like, if you really love something and really enjoy something and you want to spend your money on it, do it and enjoy it, and try and remember the money will come back to you. So instead of
Yeah.
the other mindset that that was drilled into my head for years and years of like, oh, I feel so guilty. Oh, I can't spend money on this. Um,
Yeah.
I'm working towards the other way.
Well, it's so interesting. As you were sharing your story, I was going to ask if that led you to have issues receiving. So, do you feel like, because again, this is a trend I see in so many women, right? And the crazy thing is, when you study feminine versus masculine energy, now as women, we can slide back and forth. It's part of our superpower, our adaptability, right? But if you were born on this earth female, you probably have more feminine energy than masculine, right? So there can be lots of arguments about this, but receiving is a feminine quality, and yet we women have been socialized to reject receiving. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, that's so true. At every, yeah, like reject, reject, reject till like the last minute.
Mhm.
And they'd be like, okay, yes, it's everything I ever wanted. Like, that's the fairy tale, right?
Yes, I definitely have trouble receiving. For example, if somebody offers help, I always think, oh, they're just doing it to be nice. So I'm like it's really going to put them out if they do it. So I'm like, no, 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 you don't have to, you don't have to. Like, don't even worry about it. I'll do it myself. And then, um, if I were to ever take anyone up on their offer of like help or anything, I would feel like I would have to reciprocate that 10 times over. So I would have to buy these
Yep.
little gifts. I'd have to take them out for a meal and like overkill the love back. But I would feel like I had to. So
Yeah.
again, that's not a great place to come from, because I'd be like, oh, now I have to do all these things to like show my appreciation, but it's too much, if that makes sense.
So, and you're coming from a place of obligation instead of
Yes,
desire or want, right?
exactly. Yes,
So, the frequency of that is different, which people don't
yes.
understand, right? So, it's giving from a different place. But so, one thing I did in part of my spiritual journey as I was working, and I realized that I too was having trouble receiving. And I just was in this meditation and I just like, I don't know, I saw like these like hula hoops of light around me, like if that makes sense, coming in and going out. And I saw that's how it's meant to be, to like receive and give. And it was just this like beautiful flow of energy. And then what came to me was that, if you offer me something and I say no, it's like me going like this to your energy that you're trying to give me, and I'm blocking it. And so if we think about a time you wanted to do something nice for someone and they rejected it, like it doesn't feel good on your end, right? Because I mean, they're basically putting this big no in your face. So, I'm still not totally good at it, but it really helped me to understand that it's so beautiful when we give and receive and when it's this natural flow. And I don't want to feel that way that people do to me when they don't accept my help. So, like, why would I make someone else feel like that, if that makes sense? And so for a long time, every day I do that meditation, like trying to get over it, seeing, because as we know, it takes a lot for us to get over our patterns, right? So,
Yes.
um, no, I love this. And, getting to that, I mean, we could do whole episodes on, I believe there's been a spiritual warfare against women. And I think this is part of it, right? And I think being, socialized to believe like we need to be independent and strong, which yes, we do, but like there's also power in collaboration. And so, Jamie, you said you loved today the idea of manifesting and doing what you want. So, like, have you grown more into understanding collaboration and working together and helping? Like, kind of chat with me about that.
Trying to, because of the way I was raised, I have that hyper independence. So again, it's
Yes.
very hard for me to ask anyone for help, because I feel like I'm really putting them out. Do you know what I mean? Even though
Hmm.
inside I know those people would actually probably would be happy to help. So for me, I really struggle with hyper independence, not asking for help from people. And I've really noticed that as well with having a child and not having grandparents nearby. Um,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have anyone to ask for help. And it's kind of almost, I've retreated back because it's kind of heightened that no, I have to do it all by myself unless I pay someone to
Hmm.
watch my child. If I need somebody to watch, I
Yeah.
have to get a babysitter or I need to take her to daycare. So I'm trying to move towards the more receiving. So actually, that's a very, really good tip. I need to listen to like some sort of affirmation or like a meditation about receiving, because I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like we overcome patterns when we experience things, right? We don't overcome patterns here. People think we do, but it's like having a deeper understanding. I mean, I'm going through spiritual healing training and we've learned, you have the physical level, the mental, the cellular level, and then it's the spiritual and the emotional. So, like, a lot of times we try to heal in the mental space, and that's not where the healing occurs. We have to go to the deeper spaces. So, and if you put it out there, hey, this is something I want to work on, I feel like it comes to you, right? Like, once you go on that path and you start seeking, the answer comes. So, I love that. So, Bex, how about you? Do you feel you've gotten better about receiving and collaboration?
Oh, loads better. I think I wouldn't be
Mhm.
able to succeed as an entrepreneur if I didn't start improving those skills. And Jamie, some of the stuff that you said resonates so strongly with me. I was also raised to be like
Mhm.
hyper independent, like fiercely independent. And I think that really career in HR helped me to start to realize, like, okay, this isn't the best way to go about things. It's okay to allow people to help you, especially whenever someone it gives them joy to help you, and by not allowing help, you're really squashing joy for the both of you,
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind of a lose-lose situation. And so I feel like my journey towards allowing some people to help me, external to me, started back then, but especially when I became an entrepreneur, like that lesson is just,
Yeah.
it's in my face daily. And it's something that I still struggle with, but the more that I do it, it's just like, you just have to practice it. Like the more that I like, for example, like
Mm-hmm.
going out to lunch, I never ever would let anyone pay. I always would want to pay for everyone
Yeah.
there. And that did give me joy, but also but I had to step back and be like, why is it that I feel this need to, almost in a sense, like I didn't feel like I was exerting power over anyone, but
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like this power play that I was like, oh, I got it. Don't worry. I got it. Let me handle it. But if anyone offered that to me, I would never accept. And it would be like a fight, like, no, I got it, not you. And so I've started letting go and being like, okay, I'm going to let someone else take that turn. Or, it's okay to split things, I don't know. And that sort of took it off to a different tangent of help. But I learned that lesson really hard planning our launch gala for the nonprofit that I started. Like, especially in the beginning, it was people were pouring support for help. Oh, I want to help. I probably had like a volunteer list, like 20 people long, but I felt so guilty to even call on them, being like, okay, now I need help. I couldn't do that. And so the only people that I would let help were the people who kept checking in with me, like, hey, I really, really, really want to help you. And then I'm like, maybe that person's telling me the truth, because otherwise I was like, oh, they're just being nice. They felt that way then, but they probably don't feel that way now. And I probably stole a bunch of joy from a lot of people who really did want to help and support something. And I didn't allow them to do it because I felt guilty about it. I felt like, oh no, I
Yeah.
have to do this. Like, I wasn't thinking it consciously, but looking back, I think subconsciously I was like, I have to do this the hardest way possible, because that's how I
Yeah.
earn this,
Yes.
this thing that I want to do. And that was the only way that equaled success to me in that moment, was like, I have to do it the hardest way. Can't let someone help me.
And the crazy thing is that was for a nonprofit and a good cause, right? And the pattern's so
Right.
strong that it showed up
Yes.
there. So, if we go deeper, where is that coming from? Like, if you both think, like, I know you said you grew up a certain way, but like, what is that underlying feeling that you feel guilt accepting people's help or asking for help?
I feel like it's just life's lessons along the way, and under like the parenting style of many parents during that
Mm-hmm.
time period that we grew up. That was the norm. That was the right way to raise your children, putting this kind of guilt trip on them. And I think it depends. I don't know. I feel like every household is different, but at the same time, many of the same struggles. But yeah, I was raised that way, like to not accept handouts, to make your own
Mm-hmm.
way. Because I also grew up, we weren't like in poverty, we were probably like lower middle class, I don't know, but so
Mm-hmm.
my mom, and a single parent household also, and
Yeah.
so she worked all the time. She worked shift work to be able to pay for our nice lifestyle, so we had a good lifestyle. We weren't lacking anywhere, but it was, and I saw that my mom worked so hard all the
Mm-hmm.
time to be able to put food on the table. And I think that's just the life lessons that my brain took in. And it was like, okay, to be a good mom, because, she is a great mom. To be a good
Yeah.
mom, this is what that looks like, because we always imitate our parents to
Mm-hmm.
some extent, till we realize, okay, this isn't serving me. I'm going to do it a different way. Right. And,
Yeah.
and, and so I think a lot of times that plays out in your teens when you start rebelling. But
Yeah.
those lessons, they're so deep ingrained. When you come back around out of your rebellion phase and you start living your life, you go back to them, even if it's a different version. And
Yeah. And
it's hard to break that cycle.
it was what was modeled for you. I mean, if you saw
Yes.
that every day with your mom, especially being a single mom, I mean, she had to, like, she didn't have any other option, right? And so you're carrying that forward. So, Jamie, how do you feel? Where do you think this underlying guilt stems from?
I also think it was from my childhood, for sure,
Yeah.
like 100%. And again, at least I can recognize that now and
Hmm.
know that that's not healthy. So I think that's obviously a step forward, is that I'm not trying to repeat those same cycles as a parent. Like in the future for my teenagers or whatever, I'm going to be a little bit kinder about the money situation with them.
Yeah.
Not spoiling them, but like
Hmm.
helping them. If they need some help, I will give them help. Um, but yes, it definitely stems from childhood, and obviously having like such a strong work ethic was a positive thing from that, but also can be a negative thing because now
Hmm.
I'm a bit of a workaholic. So I'm,
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, most people are. So um yes, so it can be good and bad.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I remembered actually we did another exercise and it was about fight or flight when it came to money. And I realized this memory popped up for me when I was like, I don't know, like 7 or 8. And I was at the mall with my mom's best friend. You know, your mom's best friends with you all the time. They're almost like part of the family, right? And like with her kids, and we were in some store and I was like, oh, Miss Barber, can you buy me this shell? And it's like $1 shell. I got in so much trouble. Like I was like grounded for weeks, and my parents to ground me would put me in my closet and I had to clean my closet. To this day I do not organize my own closet. I hire people to do it because I'm like traumatized because I would be in my closet for days. I mean, probably not the worst thing that could happen to you, but yeah, this memory popped up for me and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I never even like realized that, I won't ask people for money because I had that repercussion like when I was very young." And, I think about it, my sister's kids are that age, and I wouldn't think anything if they asked me to buy them a shell for $1. They're just a kid, right? So yeah, I hear it. We have to understand and not repeat the patterns, right? Because it came from their generation too, and it's just being passed down. Um, so I love that. And this is so important because we all are entrepreneurs. And really, if you're listening and if you own your business or not, but you're trying to raise up your abundance level for yourself and your family to have your best life, we really have to look into these demons and wrestle with them, because a lot of times our money mindset holds us back. Because, Jamie, what you talked about, I started working in my grandfather's dry cleaners when I was 12. So even though my parents were very free flowing from money, my grandfather's like, oh, time for you to work. And, I worked 6 days a week during the summer and every Sunday when I was, from age 12 on. So yeah, I just thought that was, I remember fighting my parents when I was in college because my dad's like, I want you to quit your job and focus on school because you want to go to law school. And I was like, I don't want to give up my job. Like I was fighting my parents because I wanted to keep my job. Right. So I do agree that it's good, but the challenge is like, the environments we were in, like you talked about babysitting, I worked in a dry cleaners. I mean, we were doing these jobs where we got paid for our time and there was a very fixed amount that we got paid for our time, right? So I also think that settles in us. And so one thing I like to do is, do this exercise to raise the money mindset, bring up these feelings, and then, challenge like what's your ideal income. So if you can imagine, and if you're listening out there, I did a full solo episode walking you through the money mindset exercise. So just look for that one. And you can go through the exercise. So pretty cool. But what's the most amount of money you think you can make? And then let's 10x that. Like, and people have physical reactions when they 10x that money. So we have thoughts, good and bad, and we have physical feelings, good and bad, right? So it really helps you bubble up how you think about money, because why can't you 10x that amount of money, right? There's no limit. I mean, I read a book once, like the amount of money in the world, it's ridiculous how much it is per person with the current population. Like there is no scarcity of money in the world. The scarcity is just an illusion in our head, right? And then what we do is then exercise, okay, what's your ideal income for next year? Let's divide that by the number of hours you want to work and let's get your hourly rate. And so, Bex, you did this exercise and I remember you being like, huh? So would you share with us?
Yeah, I think going into that exercise, because my background is in HR, so I've calculated hourly rates thousands of times probably before that. But I
Yeah.
had never thought to do it for my own business because I'm not an hourly working person.
Right.
And so it was shocking to me. In a couple ways, it was shocking. Like I actually expected the number to be higher than it was. And so I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, okay. I think I have some work to do. Like I think I'm doing something, that's amazing and plentiful. And it was a great start, but it wasn't near where I thought I was. So it definitely told me
Yeah.
that I still had some work to do. But I think the
Hmm.
biggest eye-opening thing for me with that wasn't so much of the hourly rate that I was assigning to work. A work hour for me, it was
Hmm.
whenever we sort of reverse engineered that to see, like, okay, how much am I actually spending of my time, because
Yep.
now I've assigned a dollar value to how much my time is worth. So how much time am I spending when I'm driving an hour and a half to Houston? Because I'm in the Woodlands. It's about an hour and a half with bad traffic, to go to a networking meeting. Like, is that really serving me well? Spending 4 hours every week doing that, or should I maybe consider something closer? Or maybe I think that you have this great idea where, well, if I can spend that same amount of time, but maybe fill the room full of people who are more closer aligned to my ideal client, that would be a much
Right.
more efficient use of my time. And so it's like, oh, all of these like ideas just started really spinning, all of these really great creative ways on what am I doing with my time, and it's actually worth something. um, Came from that exercise. So it was I don't know, it was a very pivotal moment for me. And another thing too is oh shoot, sorry, and I lost my train of thought. But so anyway,
That's okay. When it
but
comes back
yeah,
to you, just hop in.
I will.
Awesome. So, Jamie, I know you formally haven't been through this exercise with me, but I'm curious, do you know about what your hourly rate is? And, you talked about overworking. So the question is, and this is where I'm going, like, I too have a good work ethic because I grew up in a dry cleaners, right? I mean, working 15 hours in the back of a dry cleaners in South Mississippi, talk about the best diet you will ever have in your life. Like, um, but what I practice now is, okay, but what's the best leverage of my time? How can I make the most for this money? And then the other thing is, okay, well, if I make this much of money and maybe I have this guilt complex that I should clean my own home, but I can hire someone to clean my home for half of my hourly rate, and I'm gainfully employing them and they're happy because it's adding to their family's abundance. Why in the world wouldn't I do that? Like, I remember coming back from Indonesia and my friend was living there and she had five, people working in her house assisting her, and everybody's happy. And then I come back to the United States and there's so much guilt around this concept, right? So it's crazy. So, Jamie, do you have any ahas to share here, or maybe work you feel you need to do in this area?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so obviously all my work is project based, so I just give a fee based per project. But the
Yeah.
problem is that the project can spin out of control. So, for example, if the
Yes.
client wants like 500 changes and they want this and they want this, and then they add something they didn't tell me at the start of the project, and they want to add that and this, and then it can spiral out of control. But then on the other hand, sometimes you have a client who's like, yes, we're really happy with that. Let's go for that. And that's obviously the dream. So it really is a tricky one because obviously it's on a project basis. But in my profession, obviously, if somebody wants me to create a piece of content, they ask up front, what's your rate? You will give
Yeah.
them a rate. However, it's almost like someone asking, um, how much would it cost for you to build a house? You
Yeah.
have no idea of how many rooms they want, what the size of the house is, where it's located. I mean, there's so many things about that. So I think it's a tricky one because sometimes I'll give a rate and the client will be like, "Oh, great," and then they'll give me this huge, very difficult thing to film that I think, "Oh my god, this is going to take me so long. I wish I had quoted higher." So I think
Yeah.
to mitigate that, I try now to be like, okay, what do you envision? What are you
Yeah.
looking for? what's the brief, especially if people want content for their own channels that's not on
Mm-hmm.
my channel. um,
Right.
that can also spin out of control because I usually give a rate per video. But again, if they don't tell me what it is they want at the start, I could just be digging my own grave with that. So I do have to be careful in that way about time because it can spin out of
Yeah.
control.
So, what I would recommend is take a couple of projects and divide it by the hours put in if you keep them and see what you're averaging. And then it's probably going to motivate you to make changes, like when you see that rate, as you heard from Bex, right? And you can always, maybe you tweak where you do more of a consultation up front to fully understand, and then you give them a proposal. Or you say, oh, I charge X per video up to X number of hours, right? And then it's X per hour after, which I know. And this comes back to we women giving, giving, giving and not receiving. And sometimes we sell ourselves short because we just want to do a good job and serve people, right? But like, really, if I would, yeah, and anyone listening, I would really recommend try to calculate, take last year's income by the amount of hours you worked and get your hourly rate. And if you get a punch in the stomach, which half the women I do this exercise with do because they don't think in these terms, because you both have young children, it's like, gosh, I'm making this per hour. I'd rather spend more hours with my kids, right? It might be a choice not to work that much. And then, like Beck said, once you have that aha, you just start getting creative about how to fix it. It's like you have to be, awareness is 50% of the battle, right? So it's interesting because I try to price my coaching packages based on the hourly rate I want to make. But then, I just rolled out a beta like small group that I had done one-to-one. I'd never do it small group. So then I'm doing it discounted because I want the feedback and I want to make sure I'm serving people. So, you can have your hourly rate and then realize, well, I haven't done enough reps in this one area to earn that. So, it's more important to me to get feedback and get help building this program. And just be creative about it. But, knowing that there are plenty of people counting on you and your time is super valuable. So, how are you going to leverage it and what do you want to do with it? Awesome. All right. So I have a question for you. We're going to get real vulnerable on this call. I'll share things too. What is one area that you think you need to dig in and maybe get better at owning your worth, right? Like we'll make a statement of something we want to get better at. And then I'm going to text you too and hold you accountable, and you can text me too. Which, by the way, one other tip for anyone listening is, our Vixen Mastermind, we have Wednesday coffee every week for 30 minutes. And Bex is like diehard there every week. I'm there, it's if people can make it. And, we share our wins for the week, what we're focused on. And then I ask everyone to do an ask of the group. And some women struggled. They did not have an ask, right? But now we've gotten in the practice of every week. So, like, I had my launch parties. I was like, hey, who can you invite to my launch party? That was my ask, right? And so, what is one way you can flex your ask muscle in a safe environment? Because I also think, I shared this in another chat. We were talking about core values. So when I knew I had to divorce my husband due to his addiction, and it was just this terrible, and I remember reaching out to girlfriends and not getting pleasant responses because it triggered something in them. So I think we all have these experience. And then I have other people that showed up like angels, right? Which to this day, I absolutely love and adore. And so I think we've been bitten when we've asked before. And so we remember the pain over the joy. So what I would love is let's create a safe environment where we can ask. And, it's just doing the reps and building that muscle. That makes sense.
Definitely speak on that. I think
Awesome.
in terms of like being an entrepreneur and also in my industry, I think I can work on pitching myself, and that's also an ask.
Yeah.
So I think that is an area I can definitely work on. It's just like not being scared to outreach to people and being like, hey, I'd love to do this with you. again, that can be considered an ask. So I think I just need to, I'm always seeing this and that, and I'm inspired by other people online, and always thinking in my head, oh, I need to do something like that, or I need to ask these people to collaborate, or et cetera, et cetera. So I think I just need to sit down and get better, or even just do a few a week, just to kind of reach out to people.
I love that. And honestly, when you get your pitch done and you're pitching to the right people, people don't care about price. Like, I've learned that. Like, when I'll get someone on a call, I used to be, because, in my former profession as a financial advisor, I mean, the pay was built in. Like, when we did something for them, we got paid, right? Like, they didn't have to write us a check. And so I was used to getting paid, but I didn't have to ask for it. And when I became a coach, I had to ask for it. And I really struggled with the asking for the check. Like, I could sell my value, I could tell them everything I could do. And really, because I had never had to do it before in my life. As a lawyer, the firm billed out my hours. As a financial advisor, I got paid when we moved money or advised them, right? And so it is real, and it's okay to feel that way and understand I have to practice this and exercise. But then when I got my pitch down and my value proposition, and I focused on what I could do for everyone and bringing value, sometimes I have to tell people the price. They're not even asking, right? So it's so crazy how I like what you're thinking, Jamie. Like, if you go first, it's different than someone coming to you, right? And then also thinking, if someone's asking me price first, is this an ideal client? Because are they going to nickel and dime me on everything I do, where I don't feel I can be creative and be authentic in what I'm giving, right? So, which I know when we're entrepreneurs and we need to make money and put food on the table, it's hard to turn away a client. But we all know the more aligned our clients are, the better we do, right? So I love that. But yeah, this is something, I mean, I even got spiritual coaching on it. I was like, what? I feel like a mute. I can't, like, the price isn't coming out of my mouth. Like, I really can't ask.
It is a surprising hurdle that you have to
Yeah.
get over as an entrepreneur. I really struggle with that too, April. Like, I think, like, my first, like, paying clients, right? They had agreed to pay me. They knew my pricing because I had a consultation beforehand. And at this time I would have the shoot, we'd have a big reveal, and that's whenever they would make their purchase. And my first several clients, like, they picked out the images they wanted, but when it came time just to say, like, this is the total, and they knew that it was going to cost money. It's not like I was bringing it out of left field. But when it would come time for me to ask for the money, I would basically be like, I want you to have these for free. I can't charge you. You're just too amazing of a client. And I would just, and they'd be like, no, I want to pay. I'm like, I can't take your money. That was the conversation I had, like, at least the first 3 times that I couldn't even accept the minimum that I couldn't even ask for money. And that was my first big hurdle. And luckily I was able to get over that, or I also wouldn't be here today as an entrepreneur.
I know.
That was a really big step. And I don't know, that's gotta be tied to self-worth somehow. But I couldn't
well, it
accept
depends on how deep you guys want to go here, but I found for me it was a past life issue that I had to clear. So anyway, I did the work to do that. So I don't want to get too woo-woo on everyone, but I mean, there are a lot of influences on us that we don't recognize, and a lot of times we beat ourselves up that it's our shortcoming. And as women, for whatever reason, we've been socialized to be perfect. I mean, Jamie, I have to have you back on to talk about the beauty industry sometime. But, when I heard that, like, Jamie Kern Lima was the first, is it L'Oreal or Revlon that bought It Cosmetics? And she was the first CEO in their 109-year history. So all these images of what we're aspiring to be have been created by men. Like, we women have not had a voice in it till recently. I mean, it's just crazy. And, I just think from there, a lot of the perfectionist or the good girl image, like, there's a lot of just things we women deal with, right? And so I think that sometimes it's an extra hurdle as an entrepreneur, a business owner, as a woman, because we tend to beat ourselves up instead of saying, okay, this is just a skill set I have to do.
I was going to add something, because you had asked what is something that I'm struggling in right now with my own self-worth.
Please.
And I think really what I'm the hurdle, I guess my next hurdle to jump over is to feel solid in how I feel, that it's okay to feel
Mhm.
how I feel and not to worry about rejection because I feel a certain way. And that sounds like that could be extreme, but for me, I mean, I take it even to like a really just a simple post that might even have like a
Yeah.
quote. And I worry so much. It used to be I would make a post, and if I didn't get immediate response, I was deleting it. Like if I only got like a certain number of
Yeah.
likes, that was my judgment factor. If I felt like it wasn't getting enough views, I would delete it in a hurry because I'm like, oh no, this must be badly
Oh,
received, and I'm taking it
wow.
back because I didn't want to feel that rejection. So I'm past that. I can make a post and let it sit. But I'm still not, I feel like I'm still throttling my emotions, and I'm throttling in the way I want to express myself. And so that's my
Yeah.
next goal, is to feel confident in how I feel, not
I
worried
love
about
it.
how someone else might be judging those feelings.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I hope that, for everyone listening, I think a lot of us struggle with a lot of the same things, and then we beat ourselves up so we don't articulate what we're struggling with. So
Yeah.
it's a constant spiral,
There is
which,
that need to feel appearing perfect, and I've gotten past a lot of that too, but there's still, I think
yeah.
that's probably part of it. It's like, oh, this is imperfect, I better hide that before someone sees it and thinks that I'm human.
Right. No, totally. I love it. Yeah, I mean, again, we could go into this all day long, so
Yeah.
we'll
Mm.
kind of stick to topic today. But no, I love. I just want to thank like you and Jamie for really opening up and being real and raw, because I think so many of us feel this way and we don't articulate it. And there's beauty in knowing that you're not alone. I mean, that's the
Mhm.
number one feedback I get from our mastermind and small group coaching is like, women realizing, gosh, other people have the same problems I do. Wow, they think the same way I do. Like, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to do the Vixen voice. So it would
Yeah.
not happen
Mhm.
without amazing guests like you ladies. I guess we lost Jamie there. We're off there. So hopefully we got everything connected, and we lost Lacey. We definitely had a challenging panel today, but it was
Yeah.
awesome and amazing.
It was.
So I
Thanks.
hope
Yeah.
everything comes through.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, Bex, as always. You're just so beautiful and authentic, and I appreciate you share. I know for you, a driving
Chris, you
passion
might
is to
have to
help
come and
other
grab her.
women
I
become
think I'm
confident in
back
their own skin. And
Yes.
I
first.
think it's awesome when you share that you're still in that journey too, as we all are.
Yeah.
But whatever we can do, my goal is to help every woman become their own biggest cheerleader. That's what we want to
Love
do, and
it.
show up with love. So
Yeah.
Beck says, as you are the last woman standing today, I will have you wrap us up. Is there a lesson? I'm sorry. Is there a message you'd like to share with
Okay.
our audience as we wrap up?
Not to be too cliche, but it's a journey, and it's up and
Yeah.
down, and you feel like you might be climbing a mountain, but it's just, success is just like the next step away. Like it feels like there's a huge chasm, but
Mhm.
it's right there. It's just right there. Like I know when I feel like I'm struggling the most, and I get through it, and when I look back, I'm like, why was that such a big deal? It
Yeah.
seems like nothing to me now, but at the moment it was everything. And so just hang on to your self-worth. You deserve a place, to be able to be yourself, and to find strength
Yeah.
in that, and there's a community. So
Yeah, and this is cliche, but diamonds wouldn't be formed without pressure, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
when if you look at a cocoon, a caterpillar in a cocoon, it's one of the ugliest things you're going to see. And then this beautiful butterfly emerges, right? So, oh, good. Jamie's back. Awesome.
My computer just died, and I just thought, oh my
We
I'm
saw
back.
you running. Well,
Yes.
hopefully we captured everything, because that was amazing. I was just sharing with Bex. Thank you too for being so open and vulnerable. The whole point is to share that we kind of all go through the same thing. And if we can, share how we feel and make a difference, and one, we heal in sharing, and two, we help other people. So it was just a beautiful conversation today. And Bex just shared, I was just asking if you had a message to leave our audience as we tune out, what would you like to share?
I think my message would be I just really think I always go back to the kind of trust your intuition and trust your
Mm-hmm.
gut. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. Um, I know it's always like a heart versus head kind of conversation, but yeah, I just think follow your heart, whether that is you're in a job you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
you're in relationships that are draining your energy. There's it can relate to anything really. It can relate to like money, jobs, people. I just think
Love
follow
it.
your intuition.
Awesome. No, I love
Can I,
that. That's beautiful. Yeah,
and I just
please
want to
go.
piggyback on that real fast because it's such a touching thing to me. I like because I feel like as women especially, we get kind of a bad rap for having emotions and
Yeah.
experiencing that. And but for me, like kind of just in the opposite of that, I think it's so important to listen to your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
They're happening for a reason. They're telling you
Mm-hmm.
something that you might not be discerning properly with your eyes or your brain. Like we have that sense for a reason, and to
Mm-hmm.
listen to that, like what Jamie was saying, like listen to your emotions. They're there telling you something.
Yeah, no, I love that. And also, Bex, you were talking about challenging times, and I had an interview earlier, and a lot of times when we look back, the challenging times become the most beautiful part of the journey, right? But they don't feel good and they don't
Yeah.
look good when we're in them. So just like sticking it out and hanging there. And by the way, I had promised I would stay vulnerable too. So the thing I have to get better at is asking women, who do you know that I can help, right? Like I'm not great at that. I want to make a ripple effect and really impact a lot of women's lives and have a lot of women share their voices. So I need to ask more, who do you know? So that's going to be my commitment. Anyway, ladies, this has been a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much. I'm glad, Jamie, you're back in London. You could join us. Bex is coming from Houston. I'm coming from Nashville, Tennessee today. So what I'd love to share is just this journey has been so beautiful for me, connecting with amazing women, making new friends, collaborating. I just really like to encourage everyone. Like, who can you reach out to? I just had drinks a week ago with a girlfriend I hadn't seen since 25 years. We could have made lots of excuses not to see each other. And it was such a beautiful moment, right? It was just like we were right back in college. So do that. Reach out to someone this week and practice what can you ask this week to make your life better. Again, Bex and Jamie, thank you so much. I hate that we miss Lacey. We'll hear from her another time. I hope y'all have an awesome night. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you,
Thank you.
April.